do that before, man. I mean, when I was going through a breakup, whatever, 6-7 months ago, whatever the hell that was, feels like forever ago. But whenever that was, like, I remember even telling you, like, yeah, man, like, I think it hurts more because, I want to build something, and then that I feel like gives me more purpose of, like, okay, I mean, not just through the relationship, but as a whole. I think being a family man, being a good dad, being a good, like, father and all that stuff, I think is, like, really important. For me personally, that would be a huge purpose for me, because right now I feel like, especially being single, it's like I'm just not selfishly living for myself, but I'm just every day it's just thinking about what my needs are. And I think that being in a relationship sometimes it definitely does force you to have to think about the other person.
Welcome to the Human Narrative Podcast, where we share stories that resonate amongst us all.
Welcome back to the Human Narrative Podcast, my friends. I am your host, Clark, aka the Sober Webb for my friends from YouTube. And today, well, I'm excited to share with you my very first interview on the Human Narrative Podcast. And I can't be more honored than to have that first interview with my good friend, Ryan, who's become like a little brother to me and ultimately just a very good friend. And we have really, I think, an amazing conversation. Of course, I'm biased because I'm part of the conversation, but there are so many, I think, applicable narratives in this conversation that will resonate with any listener, regardless if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, wherever you're at. There are narratives in here that you will understand. Topics range from life as a millennial, surviving as a millennial, having to work a job while finding your purpose. And then, of course, we touch on alcohol, socializing with alcohol, life being sober, life as someone who might be sober curious, and then even dating and relationships. I mean, we cover the gambit, but there's a lot of amazing nuggets in this, and I really hope that you enjoy. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with a millennial. Ryan, hi. What's going on, man?
Not much.
Don't be afraid of the mic.
We finally are making it happen.
Finally.
And I'm hoping that it sounds good and everything works out.
Oh, it's going to sound real good because post-production team is amazing at what they do. That's the post-production team is me.
Is you and you.
But thanks for hanging out, dude. Welcome to the podcast. You're my first interview of this podcast. How do you feel? Oh, stop it. And if for anyone that's listening or anyone that might care, right now Ryan is drinking a beer, even though I'm the sober Webb. That's how our relationship flows, and that's how anyone's relationship flows. I don't really care if they drink in front of me. So, power of sobriety, friends.
There you go.
And also just loving people for who they are and what they want to do with their lives.
You've only had one sip. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, those are the days where I would drink a lot of those.
Dude. You know what's funny? I never actually asked you what your drink of choice was. Because I know you've talked about whiskey, I think.
Let's go. Here we go. All right. Everyone wants to know.
I want to know.
Whatever got me drunk. I mean, yes, for a long time it was, back in my Arizona days, it was Bacardi and Coke.
Okay.
Yeah. It got to a point where the bartender knew what I wanted before I even got to the bar.
Okay.
Because I lived across the street from the bar. It's pretty bad. But eventually rum made me angry, so I had to move on. So I tried wine,
Okay.
But 2 bottles of wine does the exact same thing as, quite a few shots.
Yeah.
And then eventually I would just be like, oh, now I'm just going to do beer. But then eventually Coronas just didn't cut it. So I eventually would get to like the hoppy IPAs and stuff like that because they are high in alcohol content.
Yeah, dude.
It was just honestly, it just really was about whatever got me drunk. Fast.
Yeah, no, I think in college I went through a huge phase with rum and cokes, and now, I mean, as you know, I'm a tequila guy, a beer guy. Try to keep it not too crazy. Try to just do it on the weekends. I mean, I've talked to you about not really doing it, like not drinking too much during the week, but sometimes, you have to. Sometimes I'll do it anyway.
Sometimes our job just makes it impossible.
That's really what it is, dude.
It's terrible. So, I shouldn't encourage you drinking.
Sometimes there's excuses, right?
But no, I mean, and no one actually knows anything about Ryan and I. We work together. We won't say the company's name out loud.
It doesn't matter either.
We joke that sometimes we feel like, maybe we shouldn't. We feel like prisoners sometimes.
I mean, that's the running joke. Yeah.
That's the running joke.
Yeah.
At least we get a lot of rec time. I guess we should be grateful for that.
More rec time than work time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But we worked together for a corporate company, and thankfully, we've become good friends. At least I would think so.
Yeah, dude. I'll never forget your first day walking in and seeing you in the corner and just standing there. And I just remember you saying to me, like I don't know, a couple weeks after, like we had like been like talking or whatever. And you were just like, yo, you look so standoffish the first time I saw you. And I was just like, yeah, man, just give it like literally a couple of weeks, man. You'll see like why I was like the way I was when I first came in.
He didn't want to get attached to me.
I wouldn't say that. But no, dude, I don't know, man. Work's been good. I mean, where we work is fine, but I'm happy that we're doing stuff outside of work and, you know, expanding the friendship a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, I always ask the really interesting question of what would you do if you didn't have that job or have to have a job? If time and money weren't an issue, like what would you do?
Yeah. I don't really know. I don't know what I would like to do. I mean, you know me. I love photography. I mean, I can talk sports. I love to watch sports. I like to bet on sports.
We won't get into that right now.
Not right now, but but I don't really know, man. I went to school for environmental science, and I was really invested in the environment and trying to focus on renewables and things like that. And I don't know. Now I'm working for a company that is sort of, you know, in that field, but it's a little different. And I don't know.
We work for a chemical company.
Yeah.
A
great company.
Yeah.
Great.
We won't say their name.
Yeah.
You know, it's all necessary, I guess, in today's day and age.
It's a day job.
You know, we move products.
Yeah.
We
sounds like a drug deal.
We make chemicals. We buy chemicals. We sell chemicals. But some of the stuff that the place is making actually is like for chemotherapy and anesthesia. Anesthesia? There we go. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's obviously it's
cool. I mean, it's interesting, and it's such a random job. Every time I tell people what I do, they don't understand it, but they think I'm a scientist, so it's cool. I'll let it slide.
Yeah. We won't let the listeners know how basic of a job it is.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a job.
It's a job. It's a day job. It pays something. And
as my dad would say, you'd be grateful you have a job in today's world. Be like, well, Dad, doesn't really cut it because there's more to life than that.
Yeah.
I mean, but I know what you're passionate about. But like, you know, like what I do outside of work and what I'm trying to build with the podcast. And
it's like what we're doing right now, and obviously all the sober videos you make and everything like that. You've been doing it for a while too, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, Ryan and I called last year, 2023, the 3 C's year of content creation, chemicals, and celibacy, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been celibate for
more of those
over
threes.
a year now.
Yeah.
The 3 C's. But yes, I did. Yes, this is like the next step in all of it, and I can't wait for lots of people to hear it. But this isn't really about me. I mean, I know a lot of your story. Mm-hmm. I mean, I told you that we were gonna probably get into the real stuff.
I like the real stuff.
I still feel like this would be a perfect setup in the office at work. Just 15-minute podcasts.
See, my thing is, my whole life, dude, with work, I've always had trouble. I've always had trouble going to work, and I have a different mindset. And then when I'm out of work, I have a whole different mindset. Like I have two. It's not like two separate personalities, but I think some people can relate. Like when you're at work, you kind of have at least like before the job that I have now currently, where I have a lot more coworkers, a lot more friends through work. I feel like, you know, I would just show up and it would just be more of a facade. You're just kind of getting through your shift. You're not really trying to be super friendly and everything like that. But now it's like, I don't know. I think now it's a little different. And yeah. So.
I mean, let's just go with that, right? That's I think because you just said I think people could relate. I think people can relate to a lot of us having to do jobs that we just don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Like we are in a world that seems to force us into this position of survival, and where we live, it feels like no matter how hard we work, we still can't survive.
Yep.
And our situations are completely different. I'm a single, divorced dad, 44 when this podcast is made. So obviously my path is completely different than Ryan's. Ryan, you can speak for yourself.
I mean, I'm 28, single,
ladies. He's single
and not looking, and but no, 28, live on my own. I've lived on my own for the last 5 years or so, and it's been tough, man. I mean, when I first moved out, I had a roommate, one of my close friends, and it worked out pretty well. You're splitting everything. It's not too bad, but I think just the last, I'd say 6 months to a year, man, it's been just, as you know, I mean, I've told you so much about it. I mean, we both have talked about it. It's just, everything is so expensive. You know, I'm trying to plan trips with people, or even just trying to go out to dinner or do simple things like go bowling or something like that. It's just it's a whole night. It's like over $100. Just really expensive, so it's hard, you know.
And then we have to get up on Mondays and go to the grind.
Yep.
And do a job that literally is passionless.
Pretty much, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something I don't mind doing. I mean, I go more for the social aspect at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, the paycheck's consistent and it's whatever. But, you know, at my age, I think I'm kind of at a crossroads, I think a little bit, where I don't know how long I want to do this for. And, like, but, you know, if I were to leave, I don't know what I would want to do.
Do you feel like
so,
that's indicative of, like, your generation, a lot of kids your age?
I think
Sorry,
so.
you're not a kid. I apologize.
Yeah, no, but I get it. I mean, 28, I mean, I'm on the cusp. That's kind of how I feel. I think I'm definitely young, but I wouldn't say that, you know, I'm still youthful, but I think that there's more pressure to be married or at least be, you know, on that path of, you know, being engaged, having kids, getting a house, even just having like a legitimate sounding job where you're making good amount of money, whether it be like materialistic things, cars, dressing well, having hobbies that maybe are a little expensive, whatever it is. Like, I mean, I'm more of like a just kind of like laid back kind of guy, like low key, I should say, actually. And, but I don't know. I mean, there are times where I know some of my friends and I, we've talked about this, where it's like, you're trying to kind of keep up with the Joneses a little bit. You're trying to kind of keep up with everybody. And with social media, it's like completely different now, where you're constantly comparing, you know, what you're doing to somebody else, and especially somebody else your age.
As seen through social media,
as seen through it, which
we
is,
all know is a complete facade.
Right. It's highlighting. It's highlights of life mostly. So,
and with AI nowadays, who knows what we're actually seeing.
And it's tough, dude.
We'll save the dating part for a few minutes from now.
Yeah.
Or an hour. God knows how long. We could talk. I mean, we could literally probably talk for hours. I mean, yeah, when I was your age, I was a hot mess living in New York City, and I think I just gotten engaged and pretty much moved to this area in 2010 when I was like 30. But I was like the same. I mean, you're much further ahead as a 28-year-old compared to Clark at 28. So just keep doing what you're doing. It's okay. But, you know, I mean, I don't even, and we've talked about this all the time, but I don't even have the answer at 44.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Except that I do believe that the answer is that we can't rely on these jobs to like be what we think is going to be the answer to like abundance and like happiness and like success and everything like that, which is why I work really hard when my son's not with me to build something that I'm passionate about with the YouTube channel, The Sober Webb, if you are listening and you don't know, but it's The Sober Webb on YouTube, and the Human Narrative Podcast. This podcast is an offshoot of that, but it's all kind of one and the same thing of breaking free of, honestly, the bullshit. You know, for me, it was breaking free of the bullshit of addiction, why I used alcohol to run away from all the stuff in my life. And I wouldn't be here talking to you if I hadn't quit drinking, but that's my journey. But all of this is about that, because I also don't want to rely on the corporate man to take care of me and provide for my son and I for the rest of my life. And
it's just not really practical, you know?
it's boring, too.
It's boring as hell. I mean, I honestly, and, you know, we work with people that, you know, have been there for a while.
And they'll be there forever.
They'll be there forever.
No offense, guys. Love you very much.
Yeah. And,
not that you're probably listening to this.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I'm at a crossroads. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to be able to do something that's creative. That's why I love photography. But it's hard, you know? I mean, I've reached out to friends and family and tried to, you know, kind of advertise a little bit, you know, whether just putting flyers up around town or just putting stuff on social media. And it's hard, dude. It's hard to, like, do creative stuff and to actually have it pay. Because, you know, it's easy to just do something, right? Like, I mean, you and I have talked about it, about wanting to get monetized so that you can not only follow passion, but also pay the bills and be your own boss and things like that, which I think is really awesome. But it's hard, dude. It's a long process.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
I want to give up every day.
Yeah. Well, especially with everything else going on. It's not, you know, you don't just have, you have a kid and
a co-parent.
I'll just say
we're not going to go anywhere into that.
And
my son, we can talk about, but yes, there's a lot going on in my life. But my life is neither worse or better than anyone else's, you know.
Everyone has shit going on.
We all have our shit.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'll figure it out. I think that when I look back, you know, even I was thinking about this the other day, dude. Like, I graduated high school just about 10 years ago. I was a class of 2014. Damn. And it doesn't even seem that long ago. But when I compare myself to who I was then and now to where I'm at now, I think emotionally, mentally, I'm a whole different person. And I think that, I try to take the little wins as much as I can. So looking at myself like, hey, man, I bought my own, have my own car, have my own apartment, have at least a full-time job that has, I feel like I'm doing all the right things. And I'm hoping that eventually, that pays off and I can kind of figure it out. But dude, life is long as hell. I think a lot of people say like, life is short, but I don't know, man. I guess it depends on how you look at it. I don't know.
I mean, we could ostensibly live until like 90. That's like...
Don't say that. I don't want to...
No? I mean...
Give me till 80 and that's a good life.
I mean, I'll live as long as I can live and I can take care of myself and I have my faculties around me and my son doesn't have to wipe my butt for me.
Yeah, I just want to be a competent old man that can still play a back nine, a couple times a week. That's my retirement plan.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is retirement? There's that. I mean, what is retirement anymore? Is that even possible?
Just a word.
Literally, it's just a word. I feel like retirement must be boring. I mean, we know someone that was in retirement, probably had a really nice, cushy retirement life in Florida.
Absolutely, yeah.
Came out of retirement to run the site that we work for. And I think that sums up what retirement must be like. Because some people, or maybe that's probably more about the person, they just really like to work. Maybe they don't have the purpose outside of retirement.
What I would say is that I love being productive and trying, even if it's small things like cleaning up my apartment or, cleaning my car or just getting, going food shopping, whatever it is, something that I feel like is positive and it's actually going to make my life better. But see, that's like way simpler than trying to, come out of retirement, run a whole site, especially like if you've been retired for a long time, you're coming from a warmer climate, man. You're playing golf and
back to New England.
You're back to, you've never even been here. I don't really understand that. But I do, I guess the one thing I do understand is wanting to, I always feel like there's a purpose. Because that's something that I always try to like tell myself is that I feel like I need more of a purpose in life. And I think to go back to what our day job, it's like, dude, there's no purpose there. That's just I'm clocking in and out. That's all that is. But if I can find more of a purpose of why I get up in the morning, I think that's...
How do you think you find your purpose?
Doing this, dude. Creative outlet. Mm-hmm. Doing something that you like. I think trying to make the most of, your free time. The time you have to yourself, the time you have with people. I mean, that's at least for me. I don't know about you, but...
I mean, I kind of feel like I'm zoned in on my purpose a bit. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm 16 years ahead of you.
Right.
And, my journey's been a little bit longer and different than yours. So life has also forced me to find my purpose in a way.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like if I say that I know what my purpose is, that's my ego talking. And I don't know. I mean, I would like to make a difference in people's lives. I've always been a creator. I've always been artistic. Music was my thing for a long time.
A little voice acting there.
Yep, there you go. I mean, someday we're going to use that somehow. But I feel like for me, it was like sobriety and all the things I went through to get sober and then also get divorced and change my life at the same time while being a father and surviving all of that with my mind, body, spirit, and my soul still intact and my sobriety, which kind of forced me to start focusing on, all right, I want to live my life in a different way. Hopefully that will then impact people to live their life in a different way, which I think is now here I am.
Yeah.
But who knows? This could all shift at some point, and maybe this will not work out, and my purpose will shift. I think it's like a ongoing thing, but I definitely don't think it's working for someone that tells me what I'm worth.
No. Well, I think being a dad, dude, I've told you that before, man. I mean, when I was going through a, breakup, whatever, 6-7 months ago, whatever the hell that was, feels like forever ago. But whenever that was, like, I remember even telling you, like, yeah, man, like, I think it hurts more because, I want to build something. And then that, I feel like, gives me more purpose of, like, okay. I mean, not just through the relationship, but as a whole. I think being a family man, being a good dad, being a good, like, father and all that stuff, I think is, like, really important. I think that, for me personally, that would be a huge purpose for me, Because right now I feel like, especially being single, it's like I'm just not selfishly living for myself, but I'm just every day, it's just thinking about what my needs are. And I think that being in a relationship sometimes, it definitely does force you to have to think about the other person and all, not just yourself all
If
the
it's
time.
a healthy relationship.
As long as it's not toxic, But it's, but I think, I don't know. I don't know.
I think part of maybe having a purpose is finding a way of giving back and maybe leaving the world a little bit of a better place. I guess the question is, how do we do that if like you don't have a kid as a motivation? I mean, you still have like, not to get cheesy and woo-woo, but you got your inner child, little Ryan in there. But I mean, I keep on, I challenge you at work and I say like, get back to your passion, your photography. Like, so I think sometimes the purpose just starts with getting back to that. Like, I mean, I've told you, my friend Daniel, who picked up a camera because he was given it by a friend in New York City and knew nothing about. He was never a photographer when I was in New York City, but now he's a working. Well, I call him a photojournalist. He says he's a paparazzi, but he's making money, traveling a lot as a photographer, and it started as just a hobby. So I think sometimes it's like just putting away that fear of like, how am I ever going to make money with this, and just focus on. Just do it because you're passionate. And now I'm literally starting to sound like a parent because that was the advice I always went against, because I was always like, but how am I going to balance out passion and paying the bills? That's just not possible. But I'm now at a place where I'm like, bullshit. No one, not even you or anyone, can live in that mindset of like we have a right to live our purpose.
Yeah.
We don't have to sell our souls for the rest of our lives. I don't believe that.
Not in today's age. I think definitely, I would even say my parents' age, I think that they kind of had to, but I just think times were different. I think today now with like the internet and being able to monetize literally anything, you see college athletes now making money off of ads and they're 18, they're millionaires. Like there's ways to make money that doesn't require punching in, and doing a 9 to 5. Not like there's anything wrong with that. Like you and I do it, but there's a lot of other ways where you can make a lot of money doing things that, don't require a lot of work, or they don't really require a lot of skill. But there is a necessity for a job sometimes. Yeah, there is, And unless you are a fortunate trust fund child or person in the world that has that financial cushion where you can take your time to figure out your purpose while you maybe try things here or there. That's not for everyone. Yeah. And I think most of the people we probably see on social media that make it look like they're really successful, they're probably not nearly as successful as they appear. It's all relative too, man. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I guess it depends on if you're comparing it, I don't know, to things that you want or things that you are seeking, whatever, it's all relative. Yeah. But I mean, I think with your passion for like photography, I feel like there's just a lot of stuff that you could learn to build that craft even more and digitize it somehow. You know? Dude, for the longest time, man. So it was funny, man. A couple years ago, I used to make these like voice memos on my phone when I just get ideas. And it was when I was really like focusing a lot on photography, like really trying to start a business, or maybe not a business, but just trying to get some clients and maybe just, make a website and just kind of go from there. But one of my ideas that I actually stumbled upon, not like literally a couple days ago when I was going through my phone, was like I wanted to make this photo book, and I wanted to do it like the 4 seasons and just kind of like document it a little bit, and also document it like on social media because I thought it'd be kind of fun and just easy to do. And it was cool. I was like looking up a bunch of stuff online of like how to do it. It's really cheap. And I was like, dude, if I had a website like that, it was already all set up, I could sell prints on there, but also sell those photo books. I just thought that would be really cool. Like that's a way to monetize, but that's a way to actually get my ass out, to actually take pictures and try to be creative. Yeah. Which I thought was a really good idea. And I completely forgot about it. It was a voice memo from I think March of last year. So I was just like, wow, man. And I was listening to it and I was like, dude, that's such a good idea. I should totally do that. Yeah, hold on to that. Do something with it. Yeah. And it's super doable, I think, especially if I start now. I mean, we're going into the summer, so I could at least get some photos and, just shoot in surplus and be able to have a bunch, have a huge supply, or not supply, but a sample size, I guess, that I can look at and pick the best ones, Yeah. I mean, we do live in a world that I don't think anyone, God bless those people that are cool with being worker bees and stuff like that, that want to settle into that life and everything like that. Like, honestly, sometimes I wish I like had that. I could just be like completely like, I'm cool with it. This is the rest of my life every single day, but that's fine. But that's not for us creator types. But I mean, there's just too much opportunity, I feel like, to get your voice out there nowadays.
whether your voice is through pictures, even like on YouTube, like how could you promote like pictures on like a YouTube channel? I mean, there's got to be a way because there's people doing it.
And it doesn't cost that much too. That's the thing. I mean, you save up a couple $100, dude. I mean, anyone can make a podcast like this or, get a camera and a mic or be able to, whatever, dude. I mean, you can do it's really anything with little, equipment and things like that.
I guess it just comes down to will, huh?
Yeah, it's how much you actually want to do it.
Right.
But, I mean, there's definitely times I get lazy and, you work, like I said, you work all day or all week and you just want to kind of hang out, Yeah. You want to go to a restaurant and just get drunk, right, Clark?
Yeah, I used to. Absolutely. Now I just make content or, I hang out with my son. Yeah, I'm really exciting now.
No.
I already lived my fun, crazy life. I'm happy to be alive.
You know what's funny?
Though.
I don't know if I told you this too. So, I told you that last October I did Sober October, I guess you could say Sober October. I went. What's October? 31 days. I went 29 out of 31 days sober.
Oh, you're so close to 31 days.
And it's funny. It was like the first week, and then like I think it was like the 29th or something of October. I drank for the second time, but I was kind of like, all right, that's still really good, because I don't know if you know this, but like I didn't really start drinking at all until I turned 21. Grew up with really strict parents, things like that, and so I was like, I just really straight and narrow. I was just like, yeah, no, like I'm not going to drink. But then when I turned 21, I was like, I really started drinking more consistently. Not like I had a problem, but it was just more consistent, going out, being social, whatever. And so fast forward, I mean, it was October of last year, so that was like 6.5 years straight of just getting after it pretty much. And I remember I did Sober October, and I was still really proud of myself that I actually did that. And so I think this year, I think this year what I'm going to do is, and I think for the years forthcoming, I think I'm going to just continue doing a Sober October. So at least give my brain, my body a break every October. And I've already shown myself that I can do it, because during that month in October, I did go to a Pats game, and I didn't drink anything at that tailgate, which was one of the hardest things. Yeah. One of the hardest things to do when, everyone else is offering you drinks and just being drunk.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Crazy. So that was one of the proudest moments I've had in terms of, saying no. And that was really cool. So I think this October should be interesting.
I mean, yeah. First off, proud of you.
Thank you.
Because it takes a lot of courage to even take 30 days off. It takes a lot of courage and strength to go to a tailgating. And although it is hard, you'll be surprised eventually. It's if you were to like quit for good, regardless of the relationship with alcohol. And you are obviously not like me when it comes to drinking, because I just couldn't stop once I started.
Right.
And I know you well enough to know that your relationship is completely different and healthy. But like it does get really easy eventually. Like the further you it just doesn't eventually bother you.
You know what's funny,
anymore.
man? So I actually saw a video. I think it might have been like a YouTube short or something like that. But it was like someone.
Was it by the Sober Webb? Because I hear he does good stuff.
No, the guy didn't have a mustache. It couldn't have been him, but no. But it was funny, man. It was the guy was pretty much saying, he's like, yeah, the first month is actually the easiest, because it's not. I don't want to say exciting is the right word, but you're kind of like, okay, at least if you don't have like a legitimate, if you don't have like alcoholism, like if you're not like physically having withdrawals. If you're just like me, where I was like, okay, this is more of a social thing. It's more going to be kind of difficult going out and not drinking when everyone else is. So, but one of the things that he said was like, yeah, the first month is actually the easiest, but then as you go on, it's actually harder, because then you start kind of thinking to yourself, oh man, it's been 3 months. Like, I've already proven I can do it for 3 months. What's one drink going to do,
Oh, I know that.
It's a little different, because you almost kind of chill, after a little while, where you're like, oh, okay, I've already done it. What's one going to do? And I think it was funny. I almost wanted to send it to you, and I was like, because it just was, I don't even know why I was popping on my screen, first of all, or popping on YouTube.
Probably because you're watching my stuff.
Probably, yeah. But it was... And
the algorithm knows you.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was just funny, and I was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, because even like in October, it wasn't that, it was hard, but like I said, it was more of a social thing. But I feel like as time went on, I think it would have been more difficult come the holidays, where I would have been like, my whole family would have been getting after it, and then like I would have been like, all right, it's already been 2-3 months, like, and it's Christmas, I got to drink, and it's I guess it's a little different. But like I said, yeah, if I think there's a difference between, I mean, I know people that are like physically, like they need it. And then I feel like for me personally, like, it's just a social thing, you know? It's like, I think that's why, like, I just do it on the weekends primarily. And, you know, it's like if I go out, I'm just having a good time. I still do it, you know, safely and responsibly. I think as long as you're not, you know, putting yourself in danger or anybody else, and, you know, you're just trying to have a good time, I think overall there's nothing wrong with it. And that's what I've always said. But everyone reacts differently to it, you know?
Do you think that, like, the mentality of doing it socially or to have fun is something that's been ingrained into us, that's a necessity?
I think so,
because, like, if
man.
you take off 30 days, 60 days,
So,
and you don't have, like, a negative relationship with it, like, my question is, like, why go back to it? Like, if it costs money, if it dehydrates you, if it, and the point of this podcast, this episode is totally not about this, but hey, we're going into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I actually also think it's interesting to have a conversation with someone that can stop drinking once they start and has a healthy relationship. But I guess the question is just like, so why do you go back? Do you like the flavor?
I do. I think that there's something about like a summertime cocktail,
Which I totally get, by the way.
brunch. You get whatever mimosa, whatever you're into.
Totally understand that.
You know what I mean? And it's, you know, there's nothing like, you know, go to Fenway Park. You're at a baseball game and you're just having a Coors Light or something. It's sunny out. It's a beautiful summer night. Whatever. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, I kind of paint pictures in my head. I'm like, this is just, you know, I have this drink for this scenario. And
you romanticize it?
I do kind of sometimes where, especially like, I don't know, like when I was sober, I was just like, or, you know, that in October when I was sober, I was just kind of like, yeah, man, like, it's going to be nice. Like, I wonder like what my first like drink of choice is going to be come November. But I don't know, man. I think some of it's like, I think for me, a lot of it's social. It's funny, like when I was doing that sober October, dude, the thing that I noticed the most was the amount of commercials for alcohol. That's insane. When you're not, like, when you're trying to distance yourself from something, the amount of publicity that alcohol gets, it's so normalized compared to so many other things, you know? And it's just like, in general, like my friends, family, all kind of didn't give me shit, but they were kind of just like, oh, you're not going to have a glass of wine with dinner? You're not going to, because everyone else is. And
yeah, there's a lot of social peer pressure.
It really is a social peer pressure, but you're almost like look like frowned upon. Like you look down upon.
Like there's something wrong with you?
Yeah, or it's only, and it's funny, like when people say like, oh, why? Like, do you have a problem? Is that why you're trying to be sober? That's what's really funny to me.
Yeah.
Is that it's like you can't just be like, no, man, I'm just taking a break. You know, it's like people are like, well, no, you must have a problem.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah,
except for me, I'm so out there about it. No one ever really questions anything I say about it because I'm just out there about my own story with it.
Yeah, and it's just it's just funny that it's like, you know, even if, you know, you're sober, what, 7 years now? 7 years?
7 years in October. October 1st, yeah.
Let's go. There we go. We should have a drink in October.
Sure.
I'll
have a virgin mimosa if that even exists.
I'll break it October 1st.
You know, I'll have some bubbly cider.
But what was I saying? Sorry.
The stigma around it. You know, people that don't understand why you're taking a break from alcohol.
Yeah. So for you, like,
and that for many people, it can be just simply you just don't want to drink alcohol anymore.
Right. Yeah. So for you, you were, you know, almost 7 years in October, and it's just like, you know, the way I look at it is like, dude, like, there's no problem there. But I think a lot of people are going to look at it like, oh, it must have been really bad for him if he's been sober for so long. He doesn't even want to look at it, doesn't even want to touch it. Like
me?
Yeah, or anybody. You know, anyone that's been sober for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's just like a stigma around it, no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's super unfair. But
I mean, yeah, and that's part of the reason I am so outspoken about my journey with alcohol, and because the stigma is stupid and it's bullshit. That there's such a stigma around having a problem, but then there's also a stigma about doing something about it. Like, it's almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't, which is, I think, why a lot of people continue to drink when they don't want to, because they don't want to deal with the unfortunate negative repercussions of people in their family or society being like, there's something wrong with you. Oh, you're an alcoholic or you're an addict. And it's like, I mean, I had alcoholism for 13 years. You know, and I write about this, I talk about it, 24 to 37, but now I call myself a recovered alcoholic, but I don't actually even call myself that because I don't even label myself anything because I think the labels are stupid because whatever. I had a negative relationship with a substance, with a liquid that I no longer have any issue, like literally you're drinking in front of me, doesn't bother me in the slightest. I have no craving for it whatsoever because for me, I went on a spiritual, emotional journey to understand why I even drank in the first place. I began to understand my trauma from my childhood, whether it was like anyone else's trauma, it's my trauma. You know, I understand how religion impacted me, golfing impacted me, having to make people happy impacted me, and guilt and shame, and how it all led to me using alcohol, which was my vice, to numb out.
Right.
And now that I've healed that, still honestly healing it, because that's just a work in progress. Like, I just don't need alcohol. Now I just deal with it all.
Yeah.
And I just
think
wish
in
that
one year-
everyone would just hear that and just like give everyone a chance, regardless of the past and all that stuff.
So to kind of, it was funny, man. When I think I told you like a couple months ago, I was watching a lot of your videos just to see like what it was all about.
What
right?
I was all about.
Yeah, right. You know, in one of your videos, you were saying that it's like with all your free time, like when you're actually sober, you have to fill it with something else. And that was one of the things that like stood out. And I've heard that before, but it was like I think that's like, it's the way that you said it is very like straightforward. It makes a lot of sense. Where like, okay, if you think about it, like at the weekends, if you're always drinking, you have to like supplement that with something else. You know, if that's taken away, like what else are you going to do? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, it's when you first stop drinking, it can feel pretty boring. I mean, it's it leaves sadly, it can leave a pretty big hole, because if it's a social thing, you then aren't socializing as much, or you have to change your social scene completely. For me, I was an isolated drinker. I drank alone, or I drank in the confines of my house, because I just was an idiot when I would go out in public, and I would end up getting wasted, and it was just, easier and safer for me to drink at home. But yeah, it's for a while. It's just like, being around those people where you have to say no, and it gets tiring. Eventually you get used to it, and eventually it's you find ways to fill it. You realize like, oh, I should have some tea instead of beer. Like, I don't really need to fill my time drinking alcohol, and I can actually, for me, it's like I can more authentically engage with people in a social setting so much more deeper now than I ever could with alcohol. And now I can actually tune into what people, and I can listen better, and I can empathize better, and I can just have a more authentic conversation, or just be okay being alone and being in the silence of my apartment and drinking tea with my cat around.
Yeah.
But that's, I've come 7 years since.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would be curious for myself to see like how I would be, I guess, if I did it long term, if like I was sober long term. Because I was actually talking to one of my close friends, and like one of the things I said to him was, I was like, dude, like your memory gets so much better when you're like, even when like last October when I was like sober for the majority of the month, like my memory was so much better. Like I'd go out every night and I could remember every conversation I had, everything I said to somebody. It was just a lot of it was just, I think overall a different time socially, but I would argue it's almost like better, because you can have like deep conversation, like actually like value the conversation you're having.
Yeah.
It's not just this like, you and whoever just getting sloppy drunk and having a stupid conversation that you're both going to forget. It's like, it's nice to always be like having a real dialogue pretty much.
Yeah. Having that authentic conversation and connection with another human being without there being a barricade of some sort.
Right.
Which is also probably why alcohol is so good, because in a social setting, a lot of people have social anxiety. Now we're talking about like dating and attracting a mate, whether it's male or female, and like, people have anxiety and fear around rejection or not being found attractive, or, someone not liking them or getting broken up. So alcohol is a great way to take away those inhibitions.
So my whole life, man, I've had like mild social anxiety. And it's, since I was young, man, I can remember people calling me quiet. And I mean, I've come out of my shell like significantly, especially in my adult life. You kind of have to you have to work on it. And it wasn't like I just, woke up one day and everything was fixed. It was like I worked on it a lot during high school, college, kind of forced you to kind of, get more confident and put myself out there. And then like in my adult life, like my social anxiety's gotten a lot better. But I will say that, dude, it's so easy to use alcohol as a crutch for a lot of things, like any mental illness, and whether it's something even just as mild as like, oh, I'm a little anxious around a crowd of people. It's something that I think I don't talk about a lot, but I know like I've gone on first dates with girls. I mean, I've dated girls where it's like, they really rely on drinking a lot to take the edge off. It's almost like I can see like it completely turn a 180 in terms of their personality. And not necessarily in a bad way, but it's almost like I'm not really getting to know them on a genuine level. Yeah. It's just more like, oh, I'm getting to know your drunk self. I'm not really getting to know who you are. And so I think it's kind of difficult, man. I think, especially being, my age, 28, I don't feel old, but, if I talk to someone who's, 22, 23, and they're new into the bar scene and going out and whatever, it's like, it's different, man. I think the younger you are, you're trying to kind of fit in, drink, and just you use that as kind of a crutch. But what I've liked to do as I've gotten older, especially like the last couple of years, is like really control my drinking as much as possible and really just try to like just do it as a social thing. But I'm talking like have 2 drinks and be able to still like hold myself and be good. You know what I mean? And so I don't know.
Or just quit.
No. I'll be on the record. I will never stop drinking.
And I will still love you no matter what, bro. I think that, you mentioned fear and anxiety. Like, I really, not just from my own journey, but from talking to like a lot of people and listening to a lot of stories, like, I really think that addiction and alcohol use, substance abuse, gambling, sex, whatever, like, the vice or the coping mechanism it's an outlet for, not an outlet for fear. It's like it's a facade for fear, because ultimately the anxiety around, oh my God, I'm going to go out to a bar with this date with this stranger. I'm so nervous. Like, it's like, well, what are you afraid of in that situation? Because most people don't seem to be able to voice like what their fear is. Because if you ask someone like, what are you afraid of? Like, I'm not afraid of anything. Like, well, then why do you get anxious when you go out on a date? Well, it's anxiety.
Dude.
Sure, but fear.
But what is that?
Anxiety is a byproduct of the fear. So what are you afraid of that's making you anxious, that makes you have a nip or two before you go on a date, which takes you away from yourself and the person you're about to meet that you could have a deep connection with.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've heard of girls that show up like they have to have a glass of wine before they go on a first date.
Yeah. And not just girls,
Yeah, and
even guys too.
I'm not trying to single up, but I'm just saying from my personal experience. I mean, I've had like girlfriends that have told me that, and it's kind of crazy because I'm like, okay, like you're already starting like that relationship or whatever, friendship, whatever, off on kind of a not so like organic foot, I guess.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And I mean, I'm far from judging any of this for anyone that's listening, because my relationships, and we don't even have to get into I'm not even my lack of dating life, but my journey with relationships was always based around primarily social and drinking and girls. So like all my relationships, and then my long term with my co-parent, the mother of my son, a lot of it was based on developing a connection through getting drunk and the maybe not real feelings that come up when you're drunk and everything like that. I totally understand all of it, not judging at all as a 44-year-old single dad, because I totally get it. And then dating sober is a whole different experience.
I can imagine, dude. I mean, you've talked to me about it too, man, because even being sober, and you want to find somebody who I think ideally is sober, right? I
go back and forth. Like, they'd have to be like down. Their sobriety has to be kind of probably a little bit like mine. Like, they have to understand that I don't do AA. I don't label myself the labels of former struggles with alcohol, Yeah. Like, it's a much more of a spiritual, emotional kind of sobriety approach. But I mean, as long I don't know. That's the thing, is I don't know.
Well, no, because you've told me
that person might
it's
be.
Almost like you almost want the opposite though, maybe too. Because I think in your head, obviously, you'd be like, yeah, like if she's sober, I'm sober. It just makes things easier.
I would have no issue if I met a woman that drank. And I think we hit it off, because as long as her relationship with alcohol is healthy, like, right. I don't really care.
And that's what I was just going to get at too, is I think as long as she can handle herself and it's not impacting the relationship, I think that there's no reason why it wouldn't work out, So I think that, like, for you, I don't think it should be, or I don't think it is a deal breaker if someone drinks. You just don't want to go out on a first date and have the girl get belligerent, because that's, especially as a single dad, that's probably not what you're looking for, right?
Ultimately, if I were to date, in terms of like someone for me, I have no idea. I'm fine being alone the rest of my life, honestly. That doesn't.
I joke with you because at least you've beaten the game. You got a kid out of it, and maybe it didn't work out, but you have someone forever. Even if it's not a partner, you still have your kid forever. Yeah. So it's like, that's something.
But I also don't. because he is going to grow up, and he's going to go do his own thing.
Dude,
but yes, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but you're a good dad. You're not like the type that your kid's going to just forget about. You know what I mean? God. I mean, fingers crossed. But
yeah, right.
I don't know. I mean, dude, dating is funny, man. I mean, I've talked to you. I mean, I've dated a lot of girls off of Hinge specifically.
We're not sponsored by Hinge.
Yeah,
FYI.
Yeah,
we're neither advocating or not advocating for Hinge.
Yeah, use at your own discretion. But
right.
No, man, I dating apps are fine. I think when I was younger, when I was using them, especially like younger, when I was really getting after it, like I was taking it really serious, and I was like really trying to find my soulmate, and I think the thing I realized is like when you I think this just applies to dating in general, but you can't really have any expectation at all, especially in the beginning. You have to just kind of give it time, and if things work out, it's usually pretty obvious, especially in the beginning. I mean, I've been on like a bunch of first dates that I can just tell aren't gonna end in anything, but I've been fortunate enough to go on a lot of dates that have ended in relationships or friendships at the very least. And so I don't know, man. Dating is tough, dude. I mean, this is a whole
what are
thing.
you seeing? What are you seeing as like a 28-year-old younger generation in the dating world? Are people connecting as much,
dude,
emotionally and mentally, or because of the dating apps? Is everyone kind of hiding behind them? Or
I think that they're more. So they're really convenient. I think that they're not as there's not a stigma about using them anymore. I think. Even I feel like 5 years ago, if you were like, oh, I met my significant other on Tinder or something, people would kind of look at you sideways. But I think now it's almost expected that you met somebody online, or if it's not online, it's through mutual friends, right? But whatever it is, I think I don't know, man. Dating it's hard, man. I think being 28, I think is a weird age because I've talked to girls that are older than me, and I've talked to girls that are younger than me. I've talked to girls that are my age. It's being my age is kind of hard because I think everyone's kind of still figuring it out. And if I'm talking to a girl who's single and say 25 to 27 or 28, whatever, they could be just those couple years difference could mean so much in terms of experience, maturity level, how often they date, or what their career is. And I mean, I'll throw it out there, even the financial aspect. I mean, a lot of things need to match up in terms of dating. If you're going to date somebody, a lot of things have to work out. The timing is a really big one. And so I think, being where I'm at in my experience, I've been fortunate to get to know a lot of cool girls, and I'm happy that I got to know them. But at the same time, things just didn't work out, and for reasons that are completely legitimate, and it is what it is. But I don't know, man. Dating is it's a funny game, dude, because I don't know. It just takes consistent work, Even when you're in a relationship, it doesn't necessarily get any easier. I would argue it gets harder because there's a lot more commitment there, And I think I've talked to you before where I was like, dude, I almost like the talking phase more because that's when it's so easy and there's not any commitment really. You're just getting to know each other and things like that. So it's almost like I actually kind of like that time more sometimes, and then I feel like when the relationship hits, that's when the person I'm dating and myself, it kind of just gets more serious, and sometimes that can bring out the real versions of each other, and then that can sometimes lead to conflict. So
well, yeah, relationships are they're just a lot of work in general. There's nothing you can do about it. As we've already pointed out, I've been in and out of relationships myself. They're a lot of hard work,
Mm-hmm.
The honeymoon phase fades, and then the real work begins, And I think maybe because of social media and stuff like that, maybe because of the dating apps, the good old Ashley Madison Netflix documentary, because of things like that, there's a bit of this, there's this, I guess stigma came up talking about alcohol use. Maybe there's what's the reverse of a stigma, a romanticized idea of relationships, everyone... Maybe social media and these apps are ruining the forming of healthy relationships.
I think my generation, at least people my age, I'd say, are, for me personally, I grew up first half of my childhood, really no electronics, and then I feel like really the majority of my adult life, I've had a smartphone, had social media, things like that, and now dating apps that are really prevalent. And I think it's kind of become just, like I said, the norm now, where it's just like, I think people are kind of becoming like, I mean, dude, walk down the street, like everyone's on their phone, everyone's, I mean, the amount of times I go to a restaurant, go to a bar, dude, it kills me, man, when like I'll be at a restaurant and I'll see a table of like 7 people and they're all on their phones and they're not even talking to each other.
Yeah.
That creates, in my opinion, a little bit of, maybe not social awkwardness, but it just creates some sort of like social issues, because you're not, like, you and I are just talking.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of people, like good friends of mine, say, they're like, hey man, like, dude, you should start a podcast. You can carry a conversation. You can just, it's not like, it's easy talking to you. And it's like, yeah, man, I think it's because, I mean, dude, I didn't have my first smartphone until I was 18. You know what I mean? I still am not really on social media. I really never really had social media growing up. And I think it's just because I value deeper conversations for whatever reason. And I think that it's just, yeah.
Because you're an old soul.
Yeah, and you've been saying that for a while.
You're ahead of the time. No, man. I know that you tend to like maybe look at where you're not at 28 years old and not in a relationship or on the path of getting married, but I would say that where you're at 28 is a great place. You know?
Dude, I'm trying.
Like, you're okay.
Yeah, I mean,
big brother Clark saying to little brother Ryan, you're okay, man.
Yeah.
You're doing all right.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. It's hard though, man, and I think, I don't know, man. It's just tough. I mean, I think being a guy too, man, you don't hear even compliments like that often,
Well, yeah, because people are afraid to give compliments.
Yeah, and just, I don't know.
Especially one guy to another guy.
Yeah,
I'm breaking down lots of stigmas, man.
Yeah, breaking down the walls, dude.
We're breaking down the walls, Like, let's cry if we want to cry. We don't have to.
No, but
no, but seriously, no. I mean, it's it's a blessing to have you at our current lily pad, as I like to call it. And I know that we won't be there forever.
I hope not.
And I really want this to become something so that you can be part of it, or maybe all of this can help you launch something. Maybe I can help you start your own stuff.
Yeah, dude.
I think you're a good human, and I think that you have lots to offer this world. Let's end the podcast in a fun way, though. I didn't pre-think any of these questions, but favorite job that you've ever had?
Oh, market basket all day.
Oh my god!
Yeah, all day, man.
If you are not from New England or East Coast and you don't know what market basket is, because maybe you live in another country or you're in California, which I would be honored that you're hearing this.
I think it's only a New England chain, maybe.
Yeah, it's a New England grocery train. Grocery store. Grocery store.
Yeah.
And Ryan and actually a bunch of other coworkers worked at Market Basket.
Yeah, it was a great job. It was. At
least you guys got bonuses.
Got bonuses that are equivalent to the ones we get now. So
wow,
we'll put that into perspective a little bit.
Guess I should have worked for Market Basket. The one job I've never had. Worst job you've ever had?
I feel like that's a setup, but I'm not going to say my current job.
All right, not the current job.
Not the current job. I would say I worked for this computer repair place that hired me during the holidays. They said they really needed help, and then they ended up firing me 2 weeks later. And I still have their key to the place, but that's kind of funny. But.
All right, and then what's one thing? If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change? Something that you think you would change that would make the world a better place.
If I can change one thing about the world, yeah. I feel like this is just going to turn into things I don't like, and
it doesn't mean nothing crazy. Just like a positive shift, something that you could do yourself. That
something I could do myself.
Positive impact.
Make things affordable.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, affordable everything would be great.
Like the bacon, I like not increasing $1.
Yeah, maybe just being able to just hang out and not have to fucking pay an arm and a leg for just a simple evening. I don't know.
If we're gonna work 40 hours, be able to work 40 hours, and just have maybe $500 extra at the end of the month.
Something some fun money. I just want some fun money. That's all I want. Yeah, nothing crazy.
We're not looking to drive Lambos.
I'm not trying. I just want to be able to drive a nice Toyota or something. That's all. That's the type of level I'm on right now.
All right, cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time, dude.
Yeah, no, it's just fun.
So there you have it, my friends. Today's conversation with a millennial, and I hope that something in it spoke to you or resonated with you and made you feel a little less alone in this crazy world that we are all trying to navigate, regardless of our age or where we're at. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks so much for supporting my podcast, The Human Narrative. I look forward to bringing you more conversations like this one and more valuable episodes in the very near future. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.
You've been listening to another episode from the Human Narrative Podcast. Don't forget to like and share, and we hope you consider subscribing.